Only a 12th level intellect has the slightest hope of surviving what you are about to experience.
I pre-ordered DC Universe subscription service. I went for it.
Did.
I got my $75. I got my 15 months.
Oh, you did a whole year?
It's a whole
15 months. Wow.
Yeah, a whole year plus 3 extra months. And they entered me in a raffle to win Aquaman premiere tickets.
Yeah. You were all you were being an advertisement last episode about
that.
And
now I am again, if we use this as our intro.
Yeah, everybody go do that so you can win Aquaman. It's just on a personal level, we think it's a cool idea. That actually is it, though, because they don't.
I knew I was going to get the service eventually anyway, just to be able to talk about the shows on this podcast.
Yeah.
So I was like, I kind of have to. The cheap option. The 3 free months sound great.
I totally expect the listenable content of this podcast to erupt in a good way once that actually starts.
That'd be great.
So that we don't have to what do we talk about this week? I guess more fan theories. I don't know. Everyone likes fan theories.
Yeah. Not that I need the excuse, but I want to rewatch Batman the animated series.
That's true.
And it's in HD, and that's pretty great. So
I wonder. I assume they probably did not do the whole. Like with Mask of the Phantasm, I think they did an actual cleanup kind of thing. Like they went through and this frame has a bunch of hairs on it. Go away, little hairs. But I don't know if that's true. But they probably did not do that with the show, regardless, because that's a lot to do. Especially, I mean, they only have the first 2 seasons from the start, but that's a lot.
Well, I don't. Why wouldn't they? Because it's they're Warner Brothers. They have a whole team of people behind being able to make the.
I guess
I don't know.
But it also is Warner Brothers, and we know how much they do things wrong. Hey, everybody, welcome to...
I was going to say, that now they're AT&T, so we know how much they do things wrong.
Right, okay. Like I was trying to say, this is the 12th Level Intellects podcast. It's a, what have I been...
It's a bi-weekly, geekly podcast that is not sponsored by AT&T.
Or
and it probably
DC
never
Universe.
Will be.
Yeah. We say that now, flash forward to... Well, no, you're right, it won't be. Yeah, I'm James Strecker, and who are you?
I am Ted Kendrick.
I watched a Quentin Reviews video recently. He's a good channel to check out if you haven't. He likes our stuff. He might be listening to this right now. I don't know. But he mentioned it. He had a video on how to be successful on YouTube, and I thought it was going to be kind of a funny fake thing, but it actually turned out to be legitimate suggestions. And one of them was don't tell people your last name. Just go by your first name. I learned that pretty quickly, from the start. People started kind of, finding me on places I didn't want them to and all this stuff. And I was like, that's a good idea. And then, we've been saying our entire names for 3 years. So, oh, well.
Well, for me, it's everyone always asks me when I tell them I do this. They're like, oh, are you ever tempted to post your own stuff and do cross promotion and try to get people to, read or watch your other stuff?
We do it all the time.
We do it all the time. Go to my website, www.tedkendrick.com. It is both my first and last names with the .com at the end.
Wow. You don't want people to know your last name, though. Anyway, well, we got today we're going to be talking about the Death of Superman movie.
We are.
Which I finally watched last night because it came out on DVD right before we were going to record this. And there's going to be a little segment with me and Maddie talking about Teen Titans Go to the Movies. We're not recording that right now because you're not Maddie.
No.
But that'll be later. But
I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch the Teen Titans movie when it's streamable. I don't feel like going to see it. I don't feel like going to the movies.
It's already out box office Justice League. So that's a funny thing.
Sort of. Did you actually read the article from Bleeding Cool? It was
no, I just I don't read the things that we post most of the time.
It didn't make more money than Justice League, but it made a more profit because Justice League cost so much and it only made so much back.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas Teen Titans didn't cost as much and it made a lot more back. So it's been more profitable.
Makes sense, yeah.
Which it actually, maybe the profit is more than the Justice League's profit, just because they had to match, it was like a $600 million budget to like a $20 million budget. That's the difference we're talking about. So.
And when I say I don't read the stuff, I mean one of us does. Whoever schedules it to be posted. It's not like we just like, that says Teen Titans, let's put that on there, which has come up a couple times recently in the comments of stuff that we post. Is like, do you guys you don't even know what this is? You're just posting things. Like, people are getting mad that we're posting false information.
I'll take credit for that.
Clickbaity stuff or whatever.
I mean, it's an article. We try to put out something every single day, and sometimes there's slim pickings.
Sometimes there's a movie in theaters, and we can actually post articles about reviews and stuff.
I try
and
to make it
sometimes there's nothing. So here's Jack in the Box artwork from 1996 or something. Yeah.
We had a couple articles post about the Death of Superman movie, and one was a pretty bad review from IGN. I think they gave it a 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Which I don't want to say how that
we'll
matches
we'll
with my
into,
view yet, but we will. Mm-hmm. But then I put out a few good articles. I was like, oh, Doomsday's super scary and stuff like that, and I'd agree with that too. So
yeah. Well, there is a super exciting new animated movie coming out in, oh God, I don't know when actually. I should have looked that up. It's called it's about the if I tease
I
you
can't wait to watch it. I can't wait.
I know. It's about Krypto the Superdog and Ace the Bat-Hound. And look at this fantastic artwork, Ted. Look how good that looks.
That's based off Art Baltazar and what's his name? Franco, who do the Tiny Titans and the Super Friends or whatever. I don't know. Yeah, they do a bunch of all ages comic books for DC.
Right. It's I don't actually. That's a good question. A question that I just thought to ask myself is whether or not that's actually the artwork in.
In the actual movie.
Just use, because sometimes these articles just use a picture from something else because maybe there's not actual information yet. An animated movie starring DC Comics' four-legged super pets is in the works at Warner Brothers. Jared Stern, who wrote the Lego Batman movie and the Lego Ninjago movie, is slated to write and direct, says Comic Book Resources. So that sounds like it could be a good thing. It's probably going to be a little kid-aimed movie,
of course.
But if it's a kind of tongue-in-cheek, we know that this is cheesy to do super pets, in a Lego Batman style, that could be kind of entertaining, I guess.
Is it in Lego style for sure? Or just from the director?
I don't think it is a Lego movie. I think it's just written by those people.
Do they do Lego pets? Do they have Lego dogs and Lego cats?
I'm sure they do.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't
Lego everything.
Picture one.
I had Legos as a kid, but not. I didn't I wasn't. Oh my God! Yes, I have to do that.
I did
all the
too,
time.
but I had. I remember when they put out the first licensed Star Wars stuff, and I watched the that Netflix show, The Toys That Made Us. They did a really good Lego episode and a good Star Wars episode. But the Lego one kind of goes through when they start licensing stuff. But I used to have a bunch of the Knights set, and I had one Knight that had this really cool bat helmet that looked like Batman in a way, because it had the ears, but they were bat ears. They were a little wider, and he was always my stand-in for Batman because I wasn't I was probably
I'll play with those Knights,
late high school,
those dark Knights that you got there. I'll play with those. I like those.
By the time they actually did Lego Batman, I was late high school, early college.
There's a picture of me in 1998, I want to say. I think that's the date that's on it's a Polaroid photo at my grandma's place of work, and she would always do office work and just give me the giant Lego box and be like, just do this for hours. I can't deal with you right now. And there was there's a picture of me holding. It says James and his spaceship, I think, and it says 1998 or something, and then it's just me holding a chunk of Legos with kind of vague wings coming out the side looking thing. Like, it's just a block that I probably just decided, like, how many Legos can I attach to themselves or something. And then this is a spaceship. And that's why I don't design the spaceships for my movies anymore. Or for Adam's comic or anything. So, yeah, that's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
I'm done talking about pets, dogs.
Okay.
So.
Well, I got some news. We have Batwoman on the CW. She's getting her own show, and she's also, I think that her show is going to spin out of the crossover.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so she's been cast. Ruby Rose is going to be the actress who plays Kate Kane. Ruby,
she was on like Orange is the New Black and stuff.
Right, yeah, I think it was season 2. It's Piper's girlfriend after Alex is gone. I forget what.
That actually makes me pretty excited. I like Ruby Rose.
She's a good actress. Yeah, she's in John Wick. She's been in John Wick. So that's great. Good casting for sure.
She's kind of short, I want to say. Like
Batwoman's got giant boots.
Maybe not for Like, I don't really know what Batwoman's height's supposed to be, but
she's got heeled boots, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it'll make her tall. But that's cool. I think that's a great casting choice. She's gonna kill it.
Yeah, I didn't know when I saw the news about like Batwoman's getting her own show. Breaking news. I was like, yeah, I know that. Why? How is this breaking news? And then I realized that I had actually known that she was going to be in the crossover, not that she was getting her own show, but I had just mixed that in my head as like, that's her own, she's getting her own show because of this, like, why would she not kind of thing. Yeah. Like when Legends got their own show because of everyone else, like, there's no room for you in our shows anymore.
We'll make an ensemble show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
Do we know anything about what the show is like? Is it in Gotham City?
I believe so. I know the crossover is supposed to be set in Gotham.
Okay.
So
well, I wonder
so.
what else Gotham-y they'll bring into that.
Yeah.
Winkety wink.
Probably still Bruce Wayne's cousin, Kate Kane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll probably just be like a Supergirl season 1 thing where they keep like mentioning Clark Kent and Superman, but they never show him. Like maybe they'll just keep mentioning Bruce Wayne. And
can I jump into my second piece of news and then let you?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So there's a Supergirl movie in the works at Warner Brothers. Not just a TV show, but a potential movie.
What made you think to say that?
Because you were just talking about Supergirl.
Wow.
And I don't think it's a spin-off from the show. I think this is an entirely different movie set in the DCU or the worlds of DC or whatever you want to call it. It's being written by Oren Uziel. I'm not sure exactly what else he has done. I can look real quick. But as far as I know, there is not like a producer or anything attached at the moment. Like he's just writing the script.
Yeah, I heard about this, and my first reaction was just like, "Oh, that's interesting," just because like that. I didn't like, okay, they're gonna, they're just making, giving everyone kind of solo movies and whatever.
Yeah.
And I didn't think anything of it, but then the more I thought about it, the more I realized, like, oh, they've been kind of like, if they're gonna keep going with the whole Man of Steel, like Supergirl was in that pod kind of thing. Like, I wonder if that'll actually be what they're doing, or if they're just going to be like, we're going to hope you forget about that because Zack Snyder's not here anymore, and we're just going to do whatever we want.
It's possible.
Because it'd be cool to have it pick up on that stuff, because I think, like, based on trailers and speculation and all this stuff, that she was supposed to kind of be a part of Justice League, but it didn't really happen, like a lot of things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it seems like weird timing, but they did it with the Flash. They put the Flash in the DCAU or DCEU, even though he was in his own CW show.
Right.
So I guess they don't really care about that these days.
Yeah,
that's fine. Oren Uziel has also written the Cloverfield Paradox and 22 Jump Street. So and Shimmer Lake. That came out last year.
Okay.
So
well, then maybe it could be kind of a good. I don't know, more of a youthful feel or something. Kind of a rousing good time. I don't know.
I read the Supergirl comics in the late 2000s where she was kind of rebooted. It was like with all the Michael Turner art out of the Superman Batman. It's the one that the Apocalypse movie was based off of.
Is it where she's really, really spiky looking in her character design?
Yeah.
Like she's very
pointy.
Yeah.
She's very sexy. Also, she's drawn.
Just look at my abs constantly.
Or ass, but still.
Yeah.
That version of the character is like all over the place too. She was I don't know, it was kind of problematic. She was like kind of sleeping around with Nightwing and Captain Boomerang's son, who was a member of the Outsiders at the time. And I don't know if that's what I wanted out of my Supergirl movie.
Was she always going around like, where is Nightwing?
Yeah,
her thing?
I mean, kind of. She was definitely crushing hard on.
I don't know where he is. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I gotcha. Where's hashtag Where's Nightwing?
Yeah, you got it. He's memes. All right. Well, the only other thing I have is it's another kind of kid-oriented piece of news, which is weird. I didn't mean to do this on purpose. We've been getting hints of a couple new of those DCAU-inspired kids chapter books on Luciano Viccio's social media for a while, where he's posting like, I'm drawing Cheetah, I'm drawing Hippolyta, I'm drawing Argus, I'm drawing all this, and like we're like, oh, cool. When are these coming out? And he's like, soon, I guess. I don't know, because he doesn't know. He's just working on it. And but they're finally out. There's one called Circe's Dark Reign and one called Cheetah Unleashed, and they are drawn in the Bruce Timm DCAU style, but they're not like in continuity with them, and it's like very obvious even just looking at the images, because like Hippolyta has her dark hair instead of her blonde hair.
Is it still otherwise the Justice League looking design?
Yeah, it's almost just copy paste as far as I can tell, but she's got like a purple robe and black hair instead of a white robe and gold hair, which is interesting
from the 90s Wonder Woman.
Yeah, well, I like that they just recolored the design they already had instead of coming up with a new one.
That's cool.
But yeah, there's stuff like the Cheetah one has Argus in it, which includes Etta Candy and Steve Trevor and a couple other recognizable like Wonder Woman supporting characters, which again just kind of throws it out because Steve Trevor was like World War II in Justice League, but it's still cool to see this stuff. Originally, we were kind of thinking like maybe this is going to be in like the Batman and Harley Quinn kind of region of continuity, where like, you know, we had Argus pop up for the first time in that movie, and these outfits kind of look similar to that. But then, yeah, just looking at these images, it's like, oh, it's not. But it'll still be kind of cool. I always like looking at these books just for the sake of looking at them.
The art is great.
Yeah, especially when Luciano is doing it, because he has a very it's one of those, like, he does a really good job of copying the DCAU style, but he also has like his own brand to it that I recognize immediately, and the colors are always very vibrant and cool, and yeah, it's good. Check them out if you wanna. And that's that, I guess.
That's the news.
So there was a movie. There
was a death. Rest in peace.
There was a Superman.
Yeah.
Was being the poignant word there.
It's not anymore. If you watch the movie, you know that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about everything, and we're not going to do like a spoiler thing. If you've been listening to this show long enough, you know that you have to watch and listen to the exact things that we do, because we're just going to talk about them.
Luckily, this is based off a comic book that was published almost 20 years ago. So, you know.
And it's called The Death of Superman. Like, you kind of know.
You know he died. But, there's a few other things that happened in this movie that were not... They didn't totally match the source material, but I think that... I think it handled it in a really good way. I think... It did match it in all the ways that mattered. It had all the storytelling beats, which is basically you've got sort of your A plot and your B plot, and I'm not sure which you would say is which. But the first point it gets into we have is Superman is dealing with telling Lois Lane that he is Clark Kent, or the other way around. But it's always that secret identity reveal sort of thing. And there was a really cool conversation that I enjoyed between him and the Flash. Like, it's the Justice League sitting at the round table, and they're kind of going over like a random little briefing. And the Flash is about to get married to Iris, and he's asking like, "Oh, how do you deal with that? Like, does she know?" And it's like, "Yeah, of course. It's not something you just spring on her." That was kind of a nice, heartfelt moment there. Right. And we had some funny teasing of Batman in that scene, too. Like, the Justice League. I always like it when the Justice League don't take him seriously, which is something Scott Snyder's been doing in his run, too, which is, it's like, oh,
yeah, no, I like that a lot. I was watching it with Jessica, and we were both laughing at Flash's, like, is he still glaring at me and that kind of stuff, which I would have thought wouldn't come off, like, particularly well. Like, the timing of the comedy in these movies is for some reason a little bit off always. Like, I don't know if it's just the art style having to match like people's facial expressions and stuff or something, but it worked this time, I think, in this scene at least.
Yeah. And it's really interesting, the Justice League's composition that they have here. Like, we got Hal Jordan, we have Hawkman, definitely Martian Manhunter was there a lot. Yeah, Martian Manhunter actually had some really cool moments in this movie too. But yeah, it's great. It's like not the new 52 anymore. It's just kind of a hodgepodge of like the best of the Justice League here, which I think that's
a good way to go, because it's not gonna like they were pretty tied down to like, this new 52 story already, we're just making a movie out of it, and now it's like this is kind of the new DCAU in a way, like it's just a new continuity of the same, like they're going to keep theoretically following this chain. And also the fact that like over the course of this movie, so much of what has been established, or what is like the I don't know, the groundwork for like it gets destroyed both figuratively and literally. Like obviously Superman goes away, but also like their entire headquarters gets destroyed when he's fighting Doomsday or the Hall of Justice or whatever, and a couple other things I can't think of right now that I noticed in the movie. So I was noticing that as like that's cool that they're already kind of just like, forget all of that, we're gonna do whatever we want after this.
Which is probably gonna be the Justice League's probably gonna move to the moon, because it looked like they released some production art for the Fatal 5 movie, like some temporary placeholder art, and it's just an image.
It's like a watchtower,
the watchtower on the moon, or the moon satellite base or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, the A story is the romance between Clark and Lois, and the B story is obviously the showdown with Doomsday. And Superman is late to arrive because he's hanging out with Lois.
Important date.
Yeah, he's got a very important date. So he lets the Justice League get their asses kicked for a few minutes until he's like, okay, I guess I have to go in and help.
Well, he like is barely aware that it's happening. Like Wonder Woman's like, "No, we got it. It's fine. Go do your date." And then he's like, "Okay." But he's like not even paying attention. Like you would think they normally. I guess his mind is occupied. Yeah.
That's true.
No, I you're talking about how Doomsday is the B plot. I agree, but and like thinking about it afterward, that works pretty well. Like as him to just be like he doesn't need to really be anything more than a weird like just brute force that kills Superman essentially, or that like is the cause of his death anyway. But I remember, like, when I was watching it, I was just thinking, like, it's similar to Superman Doomsday in that, like, Doomsday just...
appears out of nowhere, out of a rock.
Yeah, well, okay, let me collect my thoughts here. It's Superman Doomsday, which I've already talked into the ground about how originally I was thinking, like, that's really dumb. Why are they doing this movie again? They already did this movie. But they go through the entirety of, well, at least most of it, of that like death and return story in one movie, sans the Supermen. Like they just don't do that.
Well, there's like the one clone that he has. That's kind of
like represents all of them.
It's a bit of a cyborg Superman, bit of a Superboy, bit of a Eradicator.
So he but the Doomsday part of that movie, despite his name being in the title of the movie, is like maybe less than half the movie, I want to say, and he comes and goes like so quickly, and like it sort of feels that way in this movie. Which while watching it, I was thinking like, why do they do this again? Why every time do they use Doomsday, and maybe I'm spoiled by JLU Doomsday because like he did show up and go away really quickly, but then he came back and he was kind of an important little like linchpin in the Cadmus-y stuff.
Yeah.
And so like it always feels like he should be a more fleshed out character than just a big spiky guy that punches Superman too much. But then that's really all he needs to be. Like I felt let down in the moment, but then thinking about it more when like, that's fine. That's what he is like. And you know that going in, so.
I think they do get into his origin a little bit in the movie.
Yeah. Not as much as I would have hoped, I guess. Maybe we'll find out more about it in the next one if it's relevant, but yeah.
Yeah. And they've definitely explored it in the comic books quite a bit, and like even they got to a point in like the mid to late 2000s where Darkseid got control of Doomsday's genetics and had a whole army of Doomsdays,
which we saw in that
in the Superman Batman Apocalypse movie that I mentioned earlier. They invade the Mascara, so let's talk about the voice actors for a moment.
Okay.
Jerry O'Connell was our Superman. He's been our Superman.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah, Captain Marvel from JLU. Who does the voice of Lois? It's,
Rebecca Romaine.
That's right.
Rebecca Romaine is his
was
wife.
She also the voice in Flashpoint Paradox?
I don't think so. I think this is the first time she was.
Is that Dana Delaney? I forget.
Yeah, I feel like Dana Delaney was Lois in that. Just because they didn't know they were going to do all these other movies after that. Same with Rainn Wilson as Lex Luthor.
Right. And for a while, I couldn't disassociate him from Dwight from The Office. Yeah, it was very jarring at first. But then like he did a pretty good job. And there's a really cool scene with Lex later in the movie where he dons this like robot suit. It looks like something out of Superman the Animated Series, but he's got like
does, but it also looks so bizarre that his face is just like a screen.
Yeah,
like, Jessica was going
Wizard
like,
of Oz.
Why would you design it like this?
No, I liked it though.
And uncomfortable.
And it looked like he almost got Doomsday for a second there, and that would have been a funny twist of events. But
yeah, I like how he's like he thinks he's gonna die when Doomsday grabs him, so he's just shouting like, "I'm supposed to win! I'm Lex Luthor!" and all this stuff. Like I liked that. Like no, like that's like people complain about the Joker's final words in Return of the Joker being like that's not funny. Well, like why wouldn't the Joker laugh? Like he's dying, he should be laughing. While that version of the Joker would totally be like he's always trying to upstage everybody. Like so he
and then he got
the same. Yeah, I like that with this Lex Luthor where he's like. He's just maniacal Super Friends Lex Luthor enough to be, really, really disappointed in what he thinks is his final moments.
Yeah.
So like, no, I'm supposed to kill Superman. Like, what the hell?
And this is a Lex that seems to have had a criminal past, but he's been cleared by the beginning of this movie.
But he's not innocent.
Right.
Just cause.
But he does have a history. But there was.
I just thought it was interesting that like. There's a little special feature. I don't know if you watched it for the Reign of Superman afterward.
No, I didn't watch the special feature.
Okay.
No.
There's just part of it shows Rainn Wilson like recording Lex Luthor's voice, and he seems really out of place in the studio because like when I think of these things, like these direct-to-video animated movies to me are somewhere in between, like on the geekiness spectrum. They're somewhere in between the like live action movies where you can get actors like Ben Affleck and I'm trying to think of anyone else on his like stardom level. I guess Jesse Eisenberg. I don't know. So, like really like household name kind of guys, and they don't necessarily see it as like a nerdy like superheroes or stupid comic book stuff. Like it's like this is a legitimate movie and we're making a movie.
Yeah.
And then, whereas like the cartoons, they take themselves seriously, but like they know what they are. They're made for people like us that are like, hell yeah, this comic book is coming to life. Awesome. And then these direct video movies feel like somewhere in between where like they know what they are, but they're also hiring like Rebecca Romaine and Rainn Wilson and stuff like that.
Talented
and he
voice
just
actors,
right. Yeah, he looked so out of place for some reason in the special feature to me of just being like, does he know what this is? Like, does he realize like this isn't like he was on The Office, and obviously that show was a comedy, so he's like aware that like it's silly and whatever. And he was in like Juno, I want to say, as the guy behind the counter? The
oh yeah, maybe
guy?
he was. He was in Super, that James Gunn movie.
Right. Yeah, that's a really good movie too.
Yeah, it is.
So I guess now that I think about that, you're right that's a lot more applicable. But it just seemed a little like. Is he aware that he's into Superman movie, or does he think this is just like another cool job for him? I just didn't see him as that kind of person that would be like,
I think he is a bit of a geek. I think he appreciates it. So he and I thought
maybe
he
I
did
just
a good
don't know
job.
the guy well enough.
I don't either. But yeah, he was. It was a little jarring at first because like that's definitely Dwight. But then I thought he did a good job as Lex. Came to the role.
I think we talked before that I didn't think he would do a good job because it just seems really weird and like you'll only hear Dwight. But then the more that you realize, like, Dwight and Lex Luthor are kind of similar people. They're like
Dwight is the poor man's Lex Luthor.
Yeah, Lex Luthor wants to be the assistant regional manager or whatever.
Yeah, Lex Luthor with a little less ambition. That's great.
He doesn't. He got his daddy's money. He don't need it.
Yeah, so I liked all the stuff that was setting up the reign of the Superman. They definitely drop like the first steps of all the four characters that are going to replace Superman. So Steel, Superboy, Eradicator, Cyborg Superman.
Yeah.
You get to see all the characters that will become those throughout the death of Superman. So by
and
the time
in the like 5 post-credit sequences.
Yeah, there are a bunch of post-credit sequences, and they're all like, there's like one of just like you see Superboy for like a second. What is he like going through a door and grabbing a towel or something? I don't even remember. But and he's like wearing his new 52 suit, which is kind of weird. It's like the red and black one. I prefer the.
Well, in the little preview we get, he's definitely in his 90s like leather jacket and sunglasses and stuff. So I'm looking forward to specifically that aspect of the movie.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool. Yeah, he's a fun character. And Steel, that's great. I loved John Henry Irons' scene when he meets Superman.
Yeah, I thought so that those extra characters being set up like that, I kind of thought like. Pretty much my whole I did enjoy the movie quite a bit, like a lot more than I thought I would, but I still had the mindset the whole time of like, what is the point of any of this? Because like we know what's gonna happen. We know Superman's gonna die. Like it was a little unexpected how and the circumstances, like exactly where he was and what happened and whatever. But you know it's gonna happen, and so because you know it's gonna happen, there's gonna be a follow-up to somehow he's gonna come back, and or there's gonna be these replacement Supermen in his stead, and stuff. But so like there's throughout the movie before the Superman stuff even starts really getting emotionally heavy in any way, we're just like, look, it's John Henry Irons. Look, it's Hank Henshaw. Look, it's Superboy. Like all this stuff where like. What is because they're setting it up for the next movie before we even get into this movie, like Age of Ultron and Batman versus Superman and all these things that bother me so much. And then just like, but that's setting up the movie that's gonna then happen, and then what's the point? I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I suppose you think like, what's the point? Because we've seen it before, like because we've had Superman Doomsday, we've had these other things. Like, I would argue that it's different where you have the Justice League that are there having the showdown with Doomsday, that whole sequence, and then the follow-up with the 4 imposters. Like, that's something we've never seen in animation before.
Yeah, no, it's not I've seen this. It's more of just, I guess because I know roughly the original story, that I can predict. Like, I don't know, Jessica didn't know who Hank Henshaw was. She didn't know. She guessed that was Superboy in the pod because we've watched Young Justice, and she guessed that it was Steel because she knows Steel from Justice League and all this stuff. But you don't know necessarily, I guess, unless you've read the book or know about the book, that they're going to be who they are. But it is still kind of just like, I would have preferred maybe they set them up at the end of the movie or something. Maybe that would have been a little too forced instead of because you've had to do it all at once.
Being more naturally already in the world of Metropolis.
But maybe do it in a way of put Steel in like 2 Justice League movies ago or something, so he's around, and then put
well, I mean,
but maybe they didn't know they were.
They could have had John Henry Irons, but
That's
even
what
in the
I mean,
comics, he doesn't even become Steel until he's inspired by the death of Superman.
No, that's what I mean though. Is you put John Henry Irons in like Justice League Dark or something for like 5 seconds, or but of course, like I said, they probably didn't know they were going to do this, so they didn't know to do that ahead of time. I don't know, like the like maybe when you show Hank Henshaw in this movie, don't call him Hank Henshaw, or just call him Hank or something. Like you don't have to literally say his full name. You don't have to like look
Never
who it is,
say
guys.
last names.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. What if we learned? Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I teared up at Superman's death. I didn't think I would. Because like I don't know, in the comic it's different from Superman Doomsday, and it's different from this movie. Like they all use roughly the same kind of like, yeah, no, you did it, you saved everybody, it's okay dialogue, because they kind of have to. Like that's the classic little moment there, and cradling Superman and that kind of stuff. But it was, I don't remember. I've read it like once, and I have like 3 copies from different eras of the death of Superman. But I don't remember it being that he's about to kill Lois. Is that what happened in the book?
He's
gonna kill Lois, and then that's like the last straw. Like, no way, dude, and that's what kills Superman.
I forget as well. I want to say so. Okay, because she's definitely there in the final battle.
Like bone spike stab is a normal thing.
I don't think so. Personally.
I didn't think so
but
either.
I could be wrong.
Thinking they stole that from Batman vs Superman.
It could be though. I mean, I think they leaned as true to the source material as they could. There's definitely a lot of subplot in that arc with Bibo Babowski and people like that.
Yeah.
Just like your common Metropolis citizens who rise up in the absence of Superman not being there anymore and trying to like continue his ideals and keep peace and justice around their city, like however they can. So there were like a few minor like there was some gang violence subplots that was going on, and it's called The World Without Superman because it was originally collected in like 3 different volumes. So there was the death of Superman, the World Without Superman, and the reign of Superman or whatever. Yeah. But
the Superman Returns 2006.
Yeah. I don't know how much they're gonna get into the World Without Superman stuff, and like there was even Gangbusters, a very obscure 90s hero who was based in Metropolis. He's probably not going to be in the next movie. I hope not. I don't know.
Something.
He's okay.
Okay, I'm interrupting your thought process.
Okay.
But something I did really like about this, which I think was an original thing, was that like Clark and Lois are already like a thing before she knows he's Superman.
They're engaged to be married, and I think she knows that he is Superman.
No, I mean in this movie.
Oh, not in the movie. Yeah. Oh, you think they were together previously?
No, well, I just mean
in the DCA, this version of the animated world.
I don't think we ever saw them. Like there was some like, oh, Superman and Wonder Woman are on a date, and Lois Lane walks up and, oh, I didn't know you had a girlfriend or something like that. I can't remember. I've seen it once.
Yeah, that might have been the Throne of Atlantis movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they talk about their relationship a little bit at the beginning of this movie. Superman and Wonder Woman do.
Right. Yeah. They have a little sparring training session or whatever, which is funny because it was kind of like that Justice League Unlimited like computer simulation training thing that Supergirl and Green Lantern are doing, and
it's like the danger room from the X-Men.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But then I didn't realize that was what was going on. And of course, you're not supposed to. But when it was
Cheetah who looked like
Metallo.
the Justice League Doom version.
Yeah.
Metallo,
but yeah, like
right.
as soon as Wonder Woman, I think she just punches Cheetah in the face or something, and she like bursts into like pixels. And I made some joke about like, what is this, Sword Art Online, which is an anime where they're stuck in a video game and that's how people die, is they explode into pixels. And then as soon as I said that, it started powering down like the training simulation, and then Jessica was like, well, sort of. Like it's basically the same thing.
Nice.
But yeah, I liked how Lois like, they bump into each other at the Daily Planet. They're just talking like normal people, and then she pulls them into the closet and they start making out. Like, oh, that's unexpected. And I was thinking like, and I know you're probably supposed to think this, but I was thinking like, oh, she already knows he's Superman, because why else would they be kissing?
Right.
And then it's like, oh, you must have seen Superman. You're all hot right now. And so it's like, oh, okay, she doesn't know he's Superman. I'm not used to a version where Clark and Lois are together before she knows he's Superman.
Yeah, which is usually how it goes, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny like that.
Yeah, I liked that.
Where I guess it was opposite in the animated universe, like the Timmverse, because you see Superman and Lois get together, at least by the time of Justice League Unlimited, because they have a picnic together during the Cadmus arc. Which I think Dwayne McDuffie said that he was originally going to unveil this his secret to Lois at the end of the Cadmus arc, but they just didn't end up getting to it.
Yeah, the little scene where they're in the Daily Planet or whatever.
Yeah, they have that little picnic on the roof. Like, that was definitely supposed to set it up, but it just never happens.
Yeah, well, I'm talking about when she's like, how many L's in ambivalent or whatever, and he's like, 2. What are you still doing that thing? And then he because there was a screenshot, I remember, when that episode was going to air, like this is obviously a while ago, like 2004 or something, but I remember there being like a leaked screenshot of, because Superman like adjusts his glasses in the like last shot of that episode, and there was just a screenshot of him with like them halfway down, and everybody was like, oh my god, no way he's gonna tell her, and all that, and then he just doesn't.
Yeah.
And but I'm kind of glad he doesn't, because that little, like, he doesn't have, besides his like speech to the big crowd and being like not killing Lex Luthor, like Superman specifically doesn't have a lot of like focus in those last few episodes.
Well, he does break into Cadmus to rescue the Question,
but I guess we don't see him
Captain
and
Atom.
Lois like specifically, except for Question Authority. Like
and at the very beginning, I think when he saves her from the parasite and like Metamorpho's there, and they have a little fight against.
I think
people.
you're mixing like 5 episodes in your head.
Is it not the parasite, or maybe it's like Black Mass and people like that? Is those guys the cadre?
You're getting closer. It's Mantis.
It's Mantis. Oh my gosh! Yeah, it's like the same generic little street battle. They all kind of meshed together.
Yeah.
So it's Mantis at the beginning of the end of the Cadmus. Was it Panic in the
It just
Sky?
didn't feel like it would have flowed very well into him revealing his identity to her necessarily. I don't know. I'm kind of glad they did. Like, we're getting off for the movie. So the movie was good. I had heard rumors that, like, oh, it's on the like emotional level of like a DCAU, one of the best DCAU episodes. And I don't necessarily fully agree with that. I think maybe I have rose-colored glasses on, but I think I have glasses on for sure. But I think it was still decent. Like, it was approaching that. I think if we had a few of, like, this is the first, I think, like, specifically Superman movie in this line of movies. Like, it's all been Justice League or
right.
Or Batman, I think, is the only options. Or Justice League Dark, which is kind of both.
Teen Titans. We've had.
Oh, you're right. There's one Teen Titans, and then the Teen Titans versus Justice League. So, but this is the first, like, hey, it's about Superman, and so I don't know this Superman enough, and they do a good job of making me know him and what he likes and what he needs and stands for and stuff. But it was still a little rushed because it's one movie.
And the Clark Kent is very inspired by Christopher Reeves, so I could see that.
Yeah, but they kind of changed who Superman is for this movie a little bit, because he's definitely the more of the kind of cocky New 52 Superman in the first couple movies. Like, they'd have the whole like Batman's fighting him like, who are you? What are you supposed to be able to do? And that kind of thing where they're fighting in the street and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I still liked it.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the sequel.
I gave it a 6 out of 10. I feel like it's kind of tough to judge this based off a whole universe of movies, because I don't think they really intended to be as cohesive as the DCAU was. So they kind of throw all these new characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Because they want these to stand on their own. So you could watch Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman back to back and have a full experience. So,
I am excited to see. I think we talked about this also, my opinion on this, but I'm excited to see the Reign of Superman more than I was to see this movie. But you have to do this movie to do that movie. Like, there's no way around it, really.
I agree.
And I do think it's different enough from Superman Doomsday to not be like an unnecessary redo of that or anything. It's still in my head a little bit unnecessary. Like, it's still like you've done, I don't know. It's like what we were talking about with Darkseid, where if you use him too much, he's less important in my head. So like if you kill Superman too many times in Justice League, in Batman vs Superman, in Superman Doomsday, in this movie, like, and it's all
the death of the
hero.
It's always such an easy cop out for storytelling, and that's like DC even probably about 10-12 years ago was just like they were all about killing off their characters for shock value.
And Batman died for a while too.
They even had the Blackest Night comic event because it was like, we have so many dead characters.
Right.
Let's bring it back and haunt everybody.
Yeah.
So,
but I think while I did enjoy this movie and I would watch it again, I think it'll not age super well because I think I don't know. That's maybe not the right way to describe it. I think if 10 years from now, if I'm like, which of the DC animated movies do I want to watch, like the non-DCAU ones, I might not return to this one because I'm like, I got it. Superman, Doomsday kills him. I understand. Whereas
it's
like
pretty brutal of a fight, like, and it's just like a big extended fight. There's not a whole lot of nuance to the story beyond just like, here's a unstoppable force and an immovable object, and we'll see what happens. I guess they both die. Okay, that makes sense.
But it's like I don't know, when they killed quote unquote Superman in the DCAU, it was a completely different story. It was he got sent to the future, and they had the whole funeral, and they did all the non-Doomsday aspects of Death of Superman were pretty present, but it was an original like way to do it, unexpected, and you don't actually know if Superman is dead. Like, I know he's gonna come back in this in the next one of these movies, but I didn't. At the time, you can guess that Superman's gonna come back because why would he not? It's the Justice League.
We
cartoon.
saw him in Batman Beyond.
Yeah, exactly. That's a possible future. But you didn't know why, like, what happened. It was an actual mystery or whatever. Whereas I have a pretty good guess of what's going to happen in the next movie with Superman specifically.
Right. He's going to return and he's going to have long hair and he'll be wearing a black suit.
Right. That's what we thought in the Justice League movie, and that didn't happen.
That's true.
I don't know. It's good. Cool. I'll keep rambling about it, but it is good. I recommend it. I'll probably do like a 7.
Okay.
Out of 10.
I gave it a 6. So it's 6.5 together? Okay.
Sure.
It
was an average movie. Although I'd say it's better. It was still better. It was how do you say this? Better written.
This was one of the best animated Superman, Superman as a character that I've seen in a long time. So I think compared to a handful of the other direct-to-video Superman movies in the last few years, it's definitely up there. I am a big fan of the Superman, I guess it was called Superman Unbound, that movie with Brainiac. The original one was called Superman Brainiac, and then there was Superman versus the Elite, and that original comic is still one of my favorites. But it's still, I don't know, something about this one's just a better, more well-rounded Superman.
Well, and the title, like The Death of Superman, it sounds so blunt and like ridiculous, but it's almost more about like the death of like what he represented and like
the hope, aspirations of mankind,
the space that he filled. But also that you reminded me that I was just talking to Mark. He for those who don't know, he does some Legacies coloring, and he's helping with the website right now.
First name Mark.
First name Mark, last name nothing. He's probably listening to this right now. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Oh, hi, Mark. Yeah, I'm sure he's never heard that before. He and I were just talking about how so many of the like direct-to-video movies are hard to remember which is which based on just the title. Because like Superman Unbound, what does that mean? Like, that's the one with Brainiac, right? Is what you have to ask yourself every time. And like, what's another example? I don't know. Public Enemies is pretty obvious because it's based on Public Enemies.
They are Public Enemies.
Yeah.
Batman versus Robin.
Right, yeah. Which one is that? Batman and Robin. Yeah. That's all I had to say.
Well, I think that's all I have to say on Death of Superman 2. Do you want a nice transition sound to
yes,
Teen
please.
Titans to the movies?
How else am I supposed to do it?
This is James and Maddie talking about Teen Titans. I'll see you later.
All right, so first take, first try. This is me and Maddie talking about Teen Titans Go to the Movies. This is definitely the first instance of us speaking about this, and Maddie's computer did not turn off in the middle of the last recording, and we had to start over 10 minutes into it. So let's try to remember all the funny jokes we said, and I think I started last time we talked about this by saying that I went into the movie not thinking it would be good, and I enjoyed it. But what did you think of the movie? Because you went into the movie thinking it would be good. That was a worse way than I said it the first time, but here we go.
Well, hopefully my answer is worded better than I said it the first time. So I went into it expecting it to be really good, and it was fine. However, I kind of overhyped myself on it before going in by watching almost all of the promotional material that had come out, not realizing that, wait, this is a kid's movie. My enjoyment is just going to be from like these quick witty jokes, because the plot itself will kind of, be able to be deciphered from like the first 10 minutes if you're going in as an adult.
Yeah.
And so going into it, I had already seen all the jokes from the first half of the movie. And it was like, okay, this is fine. And now I have context to it, but it's not as funny as it was the first time.
Yeah. I remember thinking how the Jade Wilson character was just going to be Slade's daughter, because knowing his last name is Wilson, and I don't actually remember what his daughter's like name is in the comics. It's probably just Jade Wilson. I don't remember, but then it's just Slade in a costume, like he's just in a woman, like his body just shapes to her body when he's wearing that costume, which was pretty good because it's obviously like there's no way for you to expect that. And I did enjoy that they had a joke that's probably aimed at themselves from the original cartoon, where they said like, you're wearing a mask over your Slade mask, like why would you do that? Doesn't it get terribly sweaty in there or something? Because Jessica and I had just talked about that because we're watching through Teen Titans, and there's like the first time that we see Slade like out in the field, he's just in like a weird like old man samurai costume that then gets taken off of him or like ripped off of him, and he's wearing his Slade costume underneath that. Like, why would you double up on costumes? So I hope that was them making fun of themselves.
What if he didn't? What if he didn't even double up on costumes and it was just mind manipulation?
Right, yeah. That was kind of a weird thing. It's like, that's not like a thing he does. It's just, I don't know.
So, what did you think of how they portrayed Slade in this movie?
I don't know the Teen Titans Go like lore enough. I know that there's a semblance of continuity within that cartoon that does not follow the same as the Teen Titans cartoon. That's pretty much the extent of it. Like, I've seen a handful of episodes here and there, but never tried to like watch it beginning to end or whatever. But so knowing that, it didn't confuse me why they wouldn't know who Slade is already or whatever. But if I didn't know that, like, I would probably be confused about, like, you're not discovering him for the first time, like, and he's also not voiced by Ron Perlman and all this stuff. So it's like, it was kind of weird that from that aspect. But I thought he was enjoyable, I guess. He was threatening enough. Like, he actually does some damage to them, which I didn't expect them to do in this kind of movie, like when he shoots them out of the sky, like point blank or whatever. I don't know. It was okay.
Right. Okay. So I had watched the review that I'm blanking on his name. I think it's just Black Nerd. Black Nerd Comedy, maybe. I watched the review that he did before going into it, and like he was going on about how Slade was just too goofy at sometimes, and when he said that, I was like, it's Teen Titans Go, like,
yeah,
they're supposed to be goofy. And then I went into it, and I kind of get where he's coming from, because it's his whole thing is like, I don't want to deal with the Teen Titans because they're so goofy. And then he's over here like doing the thumb magic trick and
right, yeah,
wiggling a pencil and stuff, and it's just like, it's some of that would have been okay, but he just kind of goes over the top with it at times, and it's just like, this is kind of iffy. I thought Will Arnett was
lasted a little too long. Those jokes.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I got it. Yeah.
I think Will Arnett was a good I guess replacement for Ron Perlman, just because of how the tone of the show is. But I just wish they would have kind of just reeled in the comedy just a little bit. Because I'm sure
the Lego stuff, right? Is it the same guy?
I think. Yeah. It's the same guy. Yeah, he's also the voice of BoJack.
Oh yeah, okay. He's many things.
But since we're on that train right now, though, what did you think of the voice cast in general?
I think despite the characters being like smaller, tiny versions of the Teen Titans, obviously the actors voicing them have aged in the last 12 years or whatever since the show was on, and they're not going to, I mean, they can't really help it. It's kind of like Lauren Lester coming back as Nightwing. Like, he sounds like a 50-year-old man now instead of, whatever teenage sounding voice he was able to do better at the time. But I think that, I don't know, it was fine, I guess is what I'm trying to say, but that they still sound noticeably older to me than they should, I guess.
Yeah, I think the only one of the main cast that really stuck out for me was Greg Sipes.
Yeah.
Like, I love him to death. He's such a fun I guess guy in general.
Yeah, he dressed up as Beast Boy at some recent Comic-Con, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, like he's A-okay with me until like the Twitter stuff with the anti-vax and all that. But
yeah,
but when I don't know if this is a conscious choice just for this interpretation of Beast Boy, but like it felt like he adds way too many extra like S's at the ends of things, or just extra words into his vocabulary, and it's just like I don't know, you're going a little bit over it. But I was more or less, when I was asking your opinion of the voice cast, I was more or less talking about the I guess the guest cast.
Okay, so I think you're talking about like Lil Yachty and what's his face for Superman? The guy, the actor.
Yeah,
guy.
I mean, Lil Yachty, Nicolas Cage, Jimmy Kimmel, Halsey.
Yeah.
Whoever it was that voiced Jade.
Was Jimmy Kimmel the Batman voice? Is that?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, and it's Kristen Bell as Jade Wilson. I think I was talking about this with Ted on the Death of Superman review we were doing, where it seems weird to me sometimes to have this like kind of more high level actors in projects like this. Like, it just takes you out of it. But I think in a movie like this, where you're supposed to, like, everything's supposed to be sort of fourth wall breaking, that's totally fine. I don't think Lil Yachty's voice goes very well with Jon Stewart. It's just, hey, he did the soundtrack or whatever. He did that one song for this movie, so we should let him be a voice. And like Nicolas Cage, obviously, because of the death or the Superman Lives or whatever it was. So that it didn't bother me, I guess. I thought it might, but because of what kind of show it is, I think it's fine.
Yeah, so I enjoyed Lil Yachty's voice as Jon Stewart, just because I felt like it kind of fit the style they were going for, to have this big old buff guy with a little tiny voice.
Sure.
And I loved that Nicolas Cage finally got his day as Superman.
Yeah.
But like, it was weird, like, having those two that felt like there was a reason for them to have their voices, and then just Jimmy
Halsey.
Kimmel and Halsey, they'll be they'll be fine. Like,
right.
I can't remember any line that Batman said, and I don't know if that's the fault of Jimmy Kimmel or not, but it's just,
I think it's just the one Batman vs Superman joke where he's like, "What's your mother's name?" or whatever. That's like the only time he said anything. Otherwise, he was just that Teen Titans Go Batman that just like laughs and doesn't do anything else.
I forgot. They made so many Batman vs Superman jokes in this movie, and like,
it's like they started making the movie like years ago, and just when that was more relevant or something.
Right. I'm surprised WB let them get away with that. Because like, we had the BVS poster that was Batgirl and Supergirl. We had the Batman vs Joker poster or whatever that said Dawn of something or other. And then we had the "What's your mother's name?"
And there's also like them saying, "Yeah, there was a Green Lantern movie, but we don't talk about that." Like they just let them put that in the movie, like they're aware of it or something.
So that one like, that's years ago and not related to anything DC and WB are currently doing. So like, I can see them getting away with that, but like, just that much bashing Batman vs Superman over the head just seemed a little weird.
So I do want to say, like, this movie is intended for a very young audience. There are a lot of well, maybe not a lot. There are a handful of moments that I think were kind of like made for the adults that they know are going to attend the showing with their kids, or because it's Teen Titans or whatever. Which reminds me, there's several things in this movie that remind me of SpongeBob kind of humor, but then there's also the SpongeBob aspect of that they do a lot of like, I don't know, a common complaint with modern SpongeBob is that they take the character archetypes and just emphasize the like one thing that you remember about that character. Like Sandy does science stuff, so she's just always going to be doing science stuff. That's all she ever does now. And Squidward does, plays clarinet, so that's all he does now, or whatever it is. And there's a lot of that in this movie and it might be part of Teen Titans Go in general, where like Starfire is always saying the words, and Starfire is the doing this thing and the like she's just constantly doing that. Like that was a funny thing she did a couple times in the original Teen Titans because she doesn't understand the language, LOL. And there were a couple other things like that with Beast Boy is like a way more like, yeah, dude, totally, even though he didn't really do that much, I don't know. That was kind of bothering me, but that might just be a thing that Teen Titans Go does on purpose because it's more baby-oriented fart jokes, LOL, all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from there. I think that goes back to what I was saying about Greg Sipes' depiction of Beast Boy in this earlier. It's
hopefully you said that in this version of the recording because I don't even remember.
I think that was on this recording.
Okay,
but it's. Because we were talking about voice actors, so yeah.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, so I think that just goes back to that point. They definitely do, I guess, overdo it on some of the characters, like just one random personality trait.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was talking before we got cut off and restarted the recording about how I'll try to do a quick version of it so you're not hearing the same thing a million times. But the movie, like when we were kids, I had like Nickelodeon shows that would get their own movies, like the Rugrats or Wild Thornberrys or whatever, and the movie would always be kind of like a much more like grand adventure feel to it than the show ever did. Like they'd go beyond the boundaries of whatever they would do in the show, and it would be obviously a lot longer, and the animation would be higher budget, and they'd have shading on characters that didn't normally, and that kind of thing. And this movie felt sort of like that because of all the reasons I just said, but also it still felt very much like sketch comedy. Like here's this routine and this joke, and then it doesn't really go anywhere until like halfway through the movie. Like they take a long time to just do a bunch of random stuff, and then like the Teen Titans Go show does. So I don't know, but like because it's made for little kids and not necessarily meant to be this huge thing, it's just like an extended episode, so it didn't bother me too much, but that was in my head, I guess, the whole time.
Right. So I had because last time we were talking about this, like you gave the Tiger musical bit as an example, and right. I definitely had a point in watching the movie where I felt like they were overdoing it with the musical numbers, and like because they did the like Teen Titans Go remix like what three times, was it, or was it
right,
only two?
Yeah.
And like there was a point where I was
twice in the movie and once in the credits.
Yeah, it was like there was a point where it was like, you don't really need to do this, like do these many of them. And then like once it hit the second one, where they're finally taking down Slade and they're being serious with like what's going on in the song, I was just like, okay, like this wouldn't hit in like as much of a they've grown as characters throughout this kind of way had they not done it the first time. Sure. And been silly. But even then it's just like, well, that one ends up paying off later, but like do any of the other musical numbers really pay off
Sure.
later? Like not really.
Well, Robin's movie gets all the stuff that he wanted.
Right. The one on Krypton where they were doing the dubstep thing was fun.
Yeah. But also pointless. I don't know.
the Michael Bolton one was fun, but like you said, it went on for a bit too long. Like I think they even realized that it goes on for too long because the promotional clip that I said I saw of it cuts out a huge chunk of it.
Yeah.
And it's just like
I did like how self-aware the movie was. Like the whole plot is just based around how they're too silly and no one takes them seriously, and no one wants to give them a movie and all this stuff, which is like all real world like complaints about the show and stuff like that. I was kind of like hoping that maybe they would add in something from the Titans trailer that we just got, like last second or something. I don't know how they would have done that, but like they couldn't. But they should have been able to know that they were going. Obviously, they would have been able to know what the trailer was they were going to release, but they wouldn't know that people how they would react to it and that stuff. So they couldn't really make fun of themselves for that, I guess.
Right. It would have been hilarious to have like them coming out of Batman's movie premiere and just hearing a bleep Batman.
Yeah, exactly. Just have Robin step on someone's skull and then say it.
But so like we're nitpicking a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a kids movie, so I feel like a lot of the nitpicking might not be justified, regardless of our audience enjoying us nitpicking things. So I'm curious to get out of the nitpicking. What were like 2 or 3 of your favorite parts of the movie?
Okay. I did like that you mentioned this before, that the animation changes like per musical number, like that's in a different style, and it wasn't necessarily like there's that like I think it's one of the Jimmy Timmy Power Hours or whatever, the like Jimmy Neutron Fairly Odd Parents crossovers, where maybe it might just be a Fairly Odd Parents thing. I don't remember. They're going through like different TV shows, and so they keep popping out in different animation.
The Channel Chasers movie.
Yeah. Okay. And
the Tim Talk boys were just talking about that the other day. I love that movie so much.
The zeitgeist continues. Yeah. Yeah, they there's like a part where they're in like a Bruce Timm Batman show but it's like a bird cage and Birdman or something, I don't remember. And there's a handful of stuff like that. It wasn't to that level where it's like, oh, it's in the style of this thing I recognize, but it just changed slightly enough to be more angular or more puffy or something like that, to where it was kind of nice to see like a change of pace.
Yeah, they definitely switched to the Cal art style, that like Amazing World of Gumball and Steven Universe and the new Thundercats they're using. Mm-hmm. I really liked when they did the Disney rip, the Lion King scene.
Oh yeah, that was so weird. Like I knew he was gonna drop him off the cliff, but like just seeing it was good enough of a joke anyway.
That was probably my favorite part altogether of the movie.
Yeah, the Disney animation like quality jump that they did for it.
Like there was when I think it was Superman came on screen during that part. Like, he looked exactly like Prince Eric from Little Mermaid. And I was just like, Jesus!
Yeah. Yeah, no, they did a good job with that. I don't remember. I'm trying to think of, like, specific parts of the movie or jokes that I really liked. Because I know there were a lot of them. Of course, my brain goes to the bad things. But, yeah, what?
Another one that I really enjoyed. I'm a sucker for Take On Me. That is like one of my favorite songs. Like I'll do it. I'll go to karaoke every now and then, and I'll decide to do that song, and then I'll do like the first couple choruses, like just doing a low note, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay, well he's singing it properly, but he's not singing it how we're expecting him to."
In a day or two.
And then the last couple choruses, like I'll hit the falsetto and everything, and it'll be a fun time. So hearing that in the movie was really fun, especially in a time travel scenario.
Well,
I loved.
Go.
Huh?
No, go ahead. I was just gonna say you've reminded me that it's that's one of the parts of the movie that I found pointless, was they do that whole thing and it doesn't help the movie plot wise at all.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't help plot wise because they undo it all, but at the same time it was so fun to watch. I think them throwing the plastic rings on baby Aquaman was like that was so dark. And
they just go when they go back and let the people murder Thomas and Martha Wayne.
Well, the way that they did that, it reminds me a lot of like the baby Hitler paradox. Uh-huh. Where like that was brought up to Jeb Bush on the campaign trail, and he was asked if he'd go back in time and kill baby Hitler, and he's like, "Well, yeah, you got to. He's a baby, but he's Hitler." and like just the fact that like I think Deadpool 2 was gonna do like a joke on that, and the studio wouldn't let them. So seeing Teen Titans Go kind of take that paradox and to a more just outlandish situation and killing baby Aquaman, I was just like, okay, this is dark. This isn't what it signed up for, but okay.
That time traveling stuff made me think like, okay, this is where we're going in the movie now. Like the plot has taken a turn to do time travel, so they're gonna think that it's a good idea to get rid of all the superheroes, but actually by getting rid of Batman, you ended up getting rid of Robin. Oh no! Like that was gonna be something that would happen, and that would be what happens the rest of the movie is they have to like figure out a way to fix that or something, and then it's just, oh, that was a bad idea, and the Joker's destroying the town, even though the Joker also shouldn't exist if Batman doesn't exist. We should go back in time and fix this, and they do, and then it's over.
Like that seemed like it was gonna be the thread that they were gonna follow, and I'm kind of bummed that it didn't.
It might have been too much for a little kid to handle, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been hard for a kid to understand, like, oh, wait, he got rid of Batman, why is Robin gone, you know?
Yeah.
But, like...
Although they just would have added a line where Starfire says, like, because the Batman was gone, we are doing the time travel, and the Robin is the gone as well. And then they would just, oh, okay, I get it now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been easy to explain and just deal with and actually have that turn into the plot. But at the same time, I kind of enjoyed that they went back and had to force Thomas and Martha down the alleyway and throw the pearl necklace around Martha's neck. Because it's just like, this is just like, it's that whole part is just so dark when you like actually sit there and kind of think about it for a second. It's like, sure, it's hilarious, but like,
yeah,
oof.
I thought about that as it was happening. Like, can you do this? I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to. What else was like? We went into the movie and the guy at the counter, who we got the tickets from, when I said 2 for Teen Titans, like he immediately, like he was waiting for someone around his age to say this to or something, like kind of like your cashier guy at their store that always talks to you about stuff. But he was like going off about how much he hated what they were doing to Teen Titans and that the show was ruining it and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm just here to check it out, and I don't know what to expect, like trying to kind of get away. And then at the end of it, when we got out of the movie, you know, of course, there's that post-credits thing, which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But he asked, like, you know, how was it? And I was like, well, there were a lot of fart jokes, and that was dumb, but I was actually pleasantly surprised, like, how much I enjoyed it. You should go see it. Kind of like trying to hint to him, like, go see it because there's a part with the normal Teen Titans in it, even if it's like 10 seconds long. And he kind of like just gave me a weird look, but I was just, it was a funny interaction that he was so like was so up in arms about that. Like maybe he'd been telling that to everyone that came through or something. But there was only one other person, like group that was in the movie with us, and it was like a mom, a teenage boy, and their like little tiny baby girl. And she was just running around the theater the whole time, screaming and laughing, and it was like very distracting, but I couldn't, like, you know, tell her to shut up or anything. But it was just one of those, like, don't bring your fucking baby to the movie, god damn it. It's so
then
easy.
You realize it's a movie made for babies.
Yeah, but if you're gonna bring them there, that's fine. But don't let them run around in there. It's not a playground. I don't know, I'm getting into too much of my triggered movie theater stuff.
Yeah, no, I feel you. But like to the point of that guy like just dissing on it without even having seen it is like, I feel like that's the general like distaste for Teen Titans Go, is people who haven't really paid attention to it and don't realize that there's witty stuff going on with it. Yeah. And honestly, in my opinion, it's not hurting the brand because it's keeping the Teen Titans in public consciousness. Like, I'm trying to think. The show ended in 2006, I think.
Something like that, yeah.
Or maybe even a little bit later. And then this got picked up around 2012, if I'm remembering correctly. And you wouldn't be seeing the push for them to revive the original series had this series not been there to be like, hey, the same voice actors are working on the characters.
Yeah, you know? I think I agree with you. I think that that's something we should have said at the start, maybe, because people that didn't see this movie or don't care about Teen Titans Go are probably skipping this part of the podcast. But they are there is a lot of just like, oh, that looks really stupid. That, and what you see in like little clips or whatever. There's the whole, you know, like it's rotting children's brains and all this stuff. But like, it just, I don't know, give it a shot. Like I watched like 3 episodes in a row just to see like when it started, kind of like what it was like. And I didn't really like it at the time, but I watched it again more recently. And I think that it's just on that cusp of like, I don't know, in kind of clever humor but still in the realm of we pooped in that toilet. No, I pooped in the toilet too. That kind of stuff. Like, it's got a mix of both.
Yeah. So I think one thing that like the people who vehemently dislike the show don't realize is that when we argue that it's not as bad as you're making it out to be, it's not because we are huge avid fans of the show.
Yeah.
Generally, I don't like disliking things. I like looking at it, thinking, okay, that wasn't for me. Obviously, I'm not the demographic. These things were good and struck a chord with me. Yeah. But it's obviously for, someone else to enjoy.
Yeah, you're not going to watch the movie and go like, it's like they made this for babies, because they did. So.
Yeah, and to be loud and vocal about this shouldn't exist because I don't like it.
Yeah.
Is essentially like saying all media should be tailored to fit your
one
needs.
Person, yeah.
Instead of fitting the desires of an audience. Like, there is an audience for Teen Titans Go. If it's not you, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't need to worry too much about it.
And I can see the idea behind, like, cartoons were better when I was a kid or something like that. Like, they were written better, they were animated better, blah, blah, blah. And from a certain standpoint, that might be true. Like certain Disney cartoons or something were probably animated better than, this kind of flash animation looking Teen Titans Go. Or, they might have been, had more, like the plots might have been more, I don't know, you learn a lesson or whatever. But I think at the same time, there's probably just as much of that in Teen Titans Go, but we choose, like, people our age or older choose to, like, not, they don't want that to be true. Like, they don't want to accept that or whatever by watching, if they watch it and see any of that in there, because it's subconsciously kind of just a, rose-colored glasses about your own show. Like, go back and watch Tailspin. I doubt that that it's better than Teen Titans Go. So.
Right. I mean, yeah. There's definitely like a large factor to that where people just have their nostalgia glasses on.
Yeah.
And it's hard to say, oh, this was a better written thing that came out of my time as a subjective fact, just because of the fact that, like, we've already experienced it. We've been experiencing it for years. We've gone back to it. We've revisited it. And then this is a new thing, and we're like, oh, that's different than what we're used to, so it's automatically bad.
Right. Wow. Yeah, I think there's plenty of shows that we choose to remember as better than they were, or movies or anything like that, because we grew up with them. So
I'm just gonna go ahead and say it: Jimmy Neutron. Jimmy Neutron was a terrible show.
It really was.
I like, the dad was fun, but other than that,
yeah. And I think that you have to compare a show like Teen Titans Go to something of the same kind of nature. I can't think of an example, like, off the top, like maybe current SpongeBob, because it's kind of in that same realm of it's not as good as it used to be or whatever. But I'm more thinking of like an older show when you were younger. You find something that is around the same level as it, compare it to that, because if you start comparing Teen Titans Go to like Beauty and the Beast or something, like, there's no point. There's stuff like that. There's examples of that stuff that people do all the time, like, oh, the Justice League action cartoon isn't as good as Batman the Animated Series. Like, no, but it's not intended to be, like, it's aimed at a different person than that show was aimed at, stuff like that. So I think for the most part, just stuff's gonna exist, and don't worry about it. So watch what you want to watch.
I think a lot of it is just people lamenting the fact that there's not as much, I guess, serious programming nowadays, like, not as many dramatic cartoons. But the fact of the matter is, like, they need to make merchandise sales off of that, and dramatic cartoons typically are targeted towards a teenage to adult audience who's not really gonna go out of their way to buy toys. Like, sure, there's people like us who are collectors and stuff and will go out of our way to buy toys, but that's not the normal person who would watch it. That's not enough to sustain keeping it on air, which is why I'm glad DC's got the DC Universe thing going on to where people will be paying into the service, and it will, help kind of float these shows that we want to see.
Sure. Yeah, I think we should probably wrap this up, and we should give it maybe a number score kind of thing. But it's hard to say like what a 10 is for this type of movie, because I don't know. Are we, again, what are we comparing it to? I guess on my own like personal enjoyment of the movie, it's probably like a 6 maybe. Like, I don't intend to watch it very often or maybe ever again, but I did laugh quite a bit and thought it was better than I expected it to be. And Jessica really enjoyed it too, for the most part, all the same kind of just like, this joke's a little too long. This joke is intended for a 3-year-old, but this stuff is good kind of thing, the whole movie. So yeah, that's my takeaway.
So I'm trying to think. The last movie I saw in theaters before this was Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I'm going to compare it to that in saying that I laughed a lot more at this movie, but I also had more problems with this movie.
Sure.
So I'm teetering between 6 and 7. I'd say probably a 6.5.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we should. I mean, let's not talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp, but that was not a very good movie. I don't know. It was just boring. I don't know. But anyway.
It was fine.
I guess maybe I'm because it's coming off the back of Infinity War. You have no way to compare it, but yeah.
But I guess since we gave it the score, we've talked about mostly everything. There's only 2 more things to talk about.
Sure.
We briefly mentioned the credit stinger.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can't decide what it was obviously really cool to see, and it was really refreshing looking to see that animation after that whole movie went by. I can't tell. I'm sure we'll find out eventually, hopefully soon. I can't tell whether it's supposed to be like a tease for that show coming back or a tease for those versions of them appearing on Teen Titans Go the way Young Justice did, or what it is exactly. Because I know there were all those teases from Tara Strong, Greg Sipes, and whatever on Twitter about like, hey, if you go see Teen Titans Go to the movies enough, if it makes enough money, then they're gonna make another season of Teen Titans. But that could be just their ploy to make you go see the movies so they get more money. But
right. Well, they did announce that they're bringing the old seasons onto DC Universe, so it's possible. But I'm kind of skeptical about it still to a degree. I thought it was real jarring the way that they cut into that scene, though.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like it didn't fit at all. Like, there should have been maybe like a fade or something kind of going into the crackliness, but that's my only real complaint about that scene.
Right, it was way earlier than in the credits than I thought it would be, but I think that they probably did that because they didn't want you to just, it's finally over and just leave if they were going to put it at the end of the credits or something.
That makes sense. But the very last thing that needs to be mentioned is, kids, I need you to ask your parents where babies come from.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And we'll end this discussion with that as well, if you're listening.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie.
No problem.
We're back.
Wow, a dinosaur story.
I hope your conversation with Maddie was good. I mean, I like that.
I hope so too, because it hasn't happened yet. In my world, it will.
Well, I like that dinosaur movie though.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's a good one.
That's great.
What's I didn't read anything.
Oh, I read 3 things, so that works.
Well, that's good. So, and now I will take a nap.
Well, have you read Justice League number 5 yet? It's the one where the Legion of Doom takes over for an issue.
Did it come out today?
No,
or last week.
Last week. It's got
Then no, I haven't. It's probably
okay.
sitting on my Comixology waiting for me.
That's okay. It's I won't talk about them, but I will say it's written by James Tynion IV, who is doing the Justice League Dark book, and he's also been on Detective Comics during Rebirth. He's a great writer. He's done a lot of Batman work, and he's
Well, while you talk about it, I'm gonna read it. So just
all right, just read it real quick. No, yeah, he's sort of Scott Snyder's protege. He went to creative writing school at NYU with Snyder as his professor. So Tynion IV is taking over the Justice League book every other couple of issues to do the villain side of the story, and this issue fills us in on what Lex has been doing, kind of like the whole reason he formed the Legion of Doom. We get to see all of his motives for exploring the totality and all that stuff that he's been up to. So, and
you can't spoil things.
Yeah, I'm trying not to. So that, I guess that's all I'll say about that issue. It's all from the villain's perspective and kind of fills us in on the sort of little continuity things that we might have missed before, like why is Sinestro no longer with the Sinestro Corps? Why is in this other costume? This issue will tell us. So
okay, well that's cool.
Yeah, so that's Justice League number 5. I also read Batman number 52, which is the middle of this story arc that has followed up the marriage or the wedding arc that had a disappointing ending. So Batman has been dealing with the fallout of his emotions of being stood up at the altar. We still haven't seen what Catwoman's really up to after that. Actually, that's not true. She has her own series now that's spun out of that. Catwoman number 1.
Complete opposite.
I just haven't been reading it. So I don't know what she's been up to. I guess if you're reading it, let us know how that book's going. I'm curious. But Batman number 52 has been really good. It's called Cold Days is the story arc. I think 53 is the conclusion. And it is a Mr. Freeze story. And it's also a big Bruce Wayne story. Bruce Wayne has been called to jury duty. And he is in court on a criminal trial against Mr. Freeze because Batman beat the shit out of him, dragged him into court, made Mr. Freeze confess that he experimented on and killed these 3 women, except Bruce is pretty sure that Mr. Freeze didn't do that, and he only confessed to the crime because he was under duress that Batman was beating the shit out of him. Batman was beating the shit out of him because he has been pissed about Catwoman standing up, and he needed an outlet.
I think I've seen the cover. Isn't it like Batman versus Bruce Wayne or something like
maybe.
that? Like it's
the cover for 51 was him like holding Mr. Freeze over a roof and like basically like about to drop him off a roof. But yeah, so it's like the entire jury is like Batman knows better. He like did the evidence. The police missed some stuff. He went after Freeze. Freeze is supposed to be under house arrest, but he put on his suit anyway and fought back against Batman. And then he confessed. And Bruce is like, well, maybe he didn't confess. Maybe he was pressured into it. Maybe Batman's not as flawless as you all think. So it's been really funny seeing Bruce Wayne on the jury, like basically defending Freeze because he knows that he messed up as Batman. Like he went too far.
Well, that's a good villain to use for that too, because Batman's always been pretty like sympathetic to Mr. Freeze's like cause. Like, he's going, you're doing it wrong, dude, but I understand because family.
Right. Yeah. No, it's been a really cool arc, especially like when he tries to like because Bruce Wayne is trying to convince the jury that there's another way to look at that the whole situation. Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool to see him win over like a jury member, like one by one, depending on like each piece of evidence that they review. It's
this
a weird
ice was found at the scene.
Yeah, it's a weird
melted.
court drama.
Yeah.
It's been a good read.
Yeah, I need. I'm just really behind on on all Batman comics.
I went in and out of this run, this Rebirth run by Tom King. I like started it and I dropped off and then I jumped back on, and it's been consistently really good lately. So I also read Saga number 54. Saga is this huge. Obviously, it's a Saga. It's an independent comic published by Image Comics. It's written by Brian K. Vaughan, drawn by Fiona Staples, and it's got a ton of random alien sort of characters that are wrapped up in this big intergalactic war. There are two sides of the battle. One is sort of a more pixie sort of species. They have little wings and stuff. The other is like sort of a ram, like horned sort of people. And the whole comic revolves around a man and a woman who fell in love. They're on opposite sides of the war, but they fell in love. They had a child, and so this child has both the wings and the horns of both species, and it's kind of like a representation of like the peace that their two worlds could experience if they stopped fighting and actually like tried to love each other instead. So the whole comic, through its 54 issues, has been about this family just trying to survive however they can in the midst of this war, and they're wanted by a bunch of different factions in the war. Like there are multiple people who are looking for this family to kill them because of what they represent. And so they made it to issue 54, and now the creative team is taking a year off because they've been kind of doing this throughout the run. Like they do 6 issues, then they take 3 months off, then they do another 6, take 3 months off. But now they're taking a whole year off so they can creatively recharge and approach the rest of the series with like a fresh mindset. So the last couple
if there's one thing I can't stand, it's people that make a comic and take too long between the issues.
Right? Yeah. Taking breaks. What are y'all doing? No, it's okay. They deserve it. The last like 2 or 3 issues they've been putting out have been some like Game of Thrones moments, in just the sense of like, oh shit, they're killing off these characters that I loved, that I've been reading about since like the first couple of issues. So they're doing they're in a red wedding situation right now, where they're just like, all right, everyone who you liked, here, gonna kill them all, but then we're gonna take a year off.
Yeah, that's what Game of Thrones is doing right now. Yeah.
That's heart-wrenching, but it's happening in Saga.
It's actually this is slightly related, I guess, but just thinking about how Game of Thrones has been gone like a year already. Like it
starts back in early 2019.
Yeah, and everyone was like, no way, you can't take an entire year off. Like, that's ridiculous. But, like, it hasn't really felt like it already. Like, Have you
rewatched it, the last season?
I'm planning to rewatch the whole thing before it happens again, just because it took me like 3 seasons to know what the fuck was going on. Like there was always...
I had to rewatch it about 3 times. I think I've watched it all.
Like the first, I don't know, the first couple episodes are just, hey, you and me, let's sit down at a table and talk about ancient kings and all of their entire lineage. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are yet.
Season 1, it helps a lot when you go back and rewatch season 1 after you've watched some of the later ones. It puts that in new context. It's also, I think, really important to the last season because there are a lot of characters that you meet, or like you see characters that interact in season 1 that don't see each other again until these last few seasons. So I think it's really important looking at how they interacted at first to get clues on where it might go.
Jessica was rewatching it before the most recent season, and I remember watching some with her and then going like, I didn't even remember that these 2 characters were ever in the same room. Apart for so long. Yeah, but that's off topic. I'm glad you enjoyed the Game of Thrones comic that you're reading.
Saga. Check it out. It's a very popular. Saga's kind of become one of the comic series that's like that you would gift someone if it's like, oh, I don't know if they like comics, but here's like a cool independent comic that's really popular that I'll let someone read. I don't know. It's a good book though. There's a few, like I definitely recommend it for more mature readers because there's like a couple of shocking pages every now and then. It's always there for shock value. It's just something they do. It's like, it might be a giant troll with his testicles just dangling out, or like a dragon sucking its own dick. Like they go there, and it's pretty, it can be raunchy sometimes, but it's fun.
That sounds like a great comic. I gotta find it.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think that's pretty much the end of the episode because we don't have any questiony
No
things
questions
to read from people. I know we get like sometimes I ask for them, so I understand.
I'll give you 2 questions.
Okay, wow.
All right, ready?
Thanks, listeners. Ted.
All right, here's your 2. Vic Sage and Renee Montoya.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Why didn't I see that coming? Well, yes. Occasionally we'll have like people, like 20 people, be like, "I listened to the episode and it was really not. What's your favorite this thing or whatever?"
Do we really not have any
episodes
questions?
Where there's just nothing.
There's got to be a question or two on our recent like YouTube video comment. I'm looking. There's a question.
Think. You mean maybe on like the most recent 12th Level Intellects episode?
Yeah, or the Superman Brainiac attacks Will It Cannon that you did?
Yeah, I mean, usually on those I just go and answer them in the comments.
I enjoyed that one. I liked how you destroyed the movie in a can.
Yeah, thank you. Jessica made a joke as I was showing it to her that I didn't even think to include in the video, where she was like, "Can in a can."
Oh, you didn't
cannon.
Even think about
and
that?
No, I didn't mean to make it a can for that reason.
Oh, wow.
But now that's canon. Now it's canon to Will It Cannon.
It's canon that you did.
Can. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was intentional.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch the video.
Yeah, hot takes.
Brainiac attacks.
All right, I'm looking at some of the comments. We had to.
Here's something I didn't answer. Okay. Would you and your team prefer the Batman Hush to be New 52 or DCAU or its own thing like Killing Joke or maybe a revival of the Batman movie with Hush that never happened? Hush. Okay. Yeah, that's from Zero Wing 321. Well,
I would prefer it to be its own thing like the Killing Joke personally. That's definitely, I could lean away from the Batman show. I do remember that concept art of Hush that that they did for the Batman. But yeah, I would want it to be its own thing, like sort of mimicking Jim Lee's art style so that they can just include all the stuff in Hush. Like they can do the Jason Todd sort of twist if they want to, even though I think it would be a fine movie without including that part. I think that they could do the stuff, the early part of Hush where Poison Ivy mind controls Superman, and that's a really cool part of that story that I wouldn't want to lose.
Yeah, no, I definitely want that part in there. The Ivy stuff is good, and it's always collected in the like the best of Batman versus Superman like trade paperback stuff.
I think it would be strange if it was the New 52 style because of Damian Wayne being involved. He was not around at all in the original storyline.
Yeah,
it was Tim Drake.
They would have to be, like, I think we mentioned this before, it would have to be kind of Court of Owlsy where they just shoved that into a timeline that didn't really work with that, or like an area, a part of it that we're already past that kind of a thing. But and especially because everyone wants Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill to come back for it, like usual. Yeah. That why if it was New 52, that wouldn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be New 52. Just keep its own thing. It's also got the Huntress is a main character in the original book. Yeah, I mean, it's got every single Bat villain you can think of: Killer Croc, Scarecrow, Joker, Freeze. Like it kind of touches on almost every one of his major Bat rogues, which is something that the original writer Jeff Loeb, I've noticed that's kind of something he does in a lot of his Batman stories. He also did Batman The Long Halloween, which is a story I would love to see adapted to the original animated movies one day. But he always kind of like shoehorns every Gotham villain that he can think of into at least he'll give like Joker gets a chapter, Scarecrow gets a chapter, and you kind of just go through and they all pop up and everybody's there. I'm
finding a couple on the Brainiac Attacks video. I don't know if these people listen to the podcast or not, but they should. This is from
now.
JAV. I don't know. What do you think of Justice League Action? I replied to this. I said, haven't watched a lot of it, but seems fun from what I've seen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that describe both of our reactions?
I've seen a good chunk of it. I've enjoyed it. I like how Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill are involved in it. It's definitely a little sillier, which is intentional. I watched an episode not too long ago about Mr. Miracle, and it had a bunch of the Fourth World characters, but Mr. Miracle himself is so goofy. He was like a lot goofier. He was almost like Booster Gold level.
Yeah.
And I didn't really buy that because I've been reading.
They do that with a handful of the characters. Firestorm is like that.
Yeah, Firestorm's super goofy, but he's always been like a bit of a. He can go there. Like Ronnie Raymond originally. Yeah.
I feel like in the cartoons, for some reason, when they try to adapt that sort of personality, they always just become just all the same characters. Like kind of on a Super Friends level, but the opposite. Like in Super Friends, they're all just the same dry. Everyone's written exactly the same. Superhero.
Yeah. Or like how in JLU you have Stargirl and Supergirl are kind of both really similar in this cartoon.
Yeah, but they butt heads because of that.
Right.
Like they're not just friends immediately or whatever.
Yeah, I like Justice League Action though. There's the first 4 episodes I thought were really cool. It was like these elemental monsters that were involved with the Rock of Eternity get loose, and they have to fight them off in various settings. And the last episode had John Constantine and stuff like that too, and that was really fun.
Is it over, or just the most recent? You mean?
I checked on IMDb recently because I. Obviously, my upcoming Trivia Tuesdays about Kevin Conroy, so I was looking at his stuff. And it looks like Justice League Action is still continuing into at least 2018 with new episodes. So I think they are still making stuff.
It's probably just between seasons or something right now.
Yeah.
I just remember I tried to watch it. Like, I don't have TV, I don't have cable, so I was trying to watch it like right after it came out, and there was just like 5 different like people on different websites saying like, oh, this is the first episode. No, actually, this is the first episode. And I'm just like, I gotta watch it in the right order. So I was just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. And I tried watching, and I was like, okay, this seems like it. It just kind of jumps into I think it's like Superman, like Parasite breaks out of wherever, and then Superman and Wonder Woman are fighting him and stuff. But
that's episode 2.
Yeah, because it's like a... What?
Yeah, it was episode 2.
That's episode... Damn it. I went back and forth for so long because I didn't know... But yeah, I think maybe one aired, but one's the production order or something. I don't really know. But
it was confusing. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but I think like it's a little more of it doesn't matter. It's a little more of a sketch show, like a.
It is. There are a few episodes that do build on its continuity, and there are a few like multi-part episodes, but they're kind of rare.
Right.
So most of it is just watching whatever order you watch.
Yeah.
It in.
I think I like that it's a unique art style because it's close enough to Bruce Timm that it makes me feel like sort of nostalgic, but it's also far enough away that like it's its own thing. Because I hate when they just put it in a very Bruce Timm style, and it's like, but it's not in the thing, so don't get confused, children. And
they've done some good, like, because that sort of style lends itself to a bunch of different types of stories. So they've done more animated, like Batman the Animated Series types of stuff with Kevin Conroy's Batman. Like there was one where it's like a time travel mix up where he and Blue Beetle end up back at I think it's Batman. There's like it's either early in Batman's career. I think it is a moment early in his career where he's got like the purple gloves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then there's other episodes where like the Joker will go to War World and deal with Mongol and whatever. So they go all over the place. There's a really good one with a bunch of zombies that had Zatanna and Swamp Thing teaming up against Solomon Grundy, and Mark Hamill was I believe he was Grundy. I could be wrong, but he was definitely Swamp Thing. And that's been funny hearing Mark Hamill in that.
You can always tell now. Like I know it took me a really long time to hear any Mark Hamill-ness in the Joker's voice.
Yeah.
Just because it's such a different voice from his natural voice. Now I can I get shades of of Luke Skywalker if I'm listening to it. But like it's definitely when he does anyone else that's not the Joker, it's just I'm Swamp Thing. I'm Luke Skywalker just trying to do Swamp Thing. It's just not. I don't know.
It's
pretty obvious. But I like when he is a character where he's just his own voice. Like, what is his name? In The Return of the Joker, not Preston Powers, but the guy. Oh my God, you know who I mean? The red herring guy.
The other Powers.
No, he's not a Powers. He's just a different guy.
Oh yeah, he's the guy who's like sleeping with the Dini twins on his yacht.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forget his
he's
name
not.
too.
He doesn't mean to.
Yeah, he didn't mean to, but that doesn't mean he didn't.
God damn it, Maddie! Yell it louder. I can't hear you. I can't hear you in the past.
Yeah, he is screaming it at us right now. It is his name.
It's another like alliterative name. I feel like. God damn.
Who's gonna find it first? Who's gonna find it?
It's not me because I'm not looking.
It's not Paxton Powers, is it?
No, it's not.
That's what we already said.
Yeah, it's not. Return of the Joker.
Is it Stuart Carter Winthrop III? Oh wait, that's cool.
Jordan
that's cool.
Price.
Oh, there you go. Price. Jordan Price.
That's a stupid name.
They don't even list him on IMDb. Or
I just googled Return of the Joker cast, and there's Mark Hamill, Joker, Jordan ... And I was like, oh, Jordan Price.
Oh yeah, there it is, Jordan Price. Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Oh, something I thought about recently. What brought this to my attention? Something with it was in the Brainiac Attacks commentary. I think that's up on our channel, by the way. Go watch Brainiac Attacks with my and Maddie's commentary. I don't know if you've done that yet, Ted, but it's a romp.
I look forward to it because I've never watched the movie. Somehow
God's Not Dead, the movie, came up in that conversation, and I'm not going to get religious with this, but we were talking about how Melissa Joan Hart is in that movie, or in the second one at least, and she does the Didi twins voice, but also I forgot how Maria Canals, or however you say it, Hawk Girl's voice is in God's Not Dead also. So there's a lot of DCAU, like 2 more than I thought.
I'll have to bring that to a future Trivia Tuesday.
Yeah. Maybe.
Well,
the new gods, the old gods. I did want to say, lastly, just looking through the comments on Brainiac Attacks Will It Canon video, there's a lot of people asking if I'm going to do Green Lantern, the animated series, for that little show. That's been a highly
it should be
debated show there, and of whether it's in the DCAU or not, just because it's Bruce Timm style, even though it's like Jimmy Neutron, Bruce Timm.
And Bruce Timm was a showrunner on it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. But I honestly have never watched that entire show. I've seen maybe 2 episodes tops. I think I would, so I'm definitely going to have to watch the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
From what I've heard, there's like a Jon Stewart reference in the last episode or something. Just from the sounds of that doesn't seem to me to point to yes, because Jon Stewart's everywhere.
There's no John and no Kyle at all in the show.
Yeah.
You obviously Hal Jordan is the main character, and then Guy Gardner even gets a ring at some point. Even though it's not necessarily saying it's not DCU, like we've seen Guy Gardner in some of the tie-in comics and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you should do a video about it for sure. I've got my own opinions. To help, I suppose I'll say, like, the Thanagarians that are in season 1 of Green Lantern the animated series are very similar to the ones we see in Starcrossed, just like very similar armor style. So that's a possible link. You get into the Anti-Monitor and stuff like that at the end of the show.
My original like thought on it, just looking at it, was not because of the CGI-ness, but just like, Hal Jordan looks different than we saw him, and Kilowog looks different than we saw him and stuff. But at the same time, with the whole Batsuit logic, like, they can look like whatever they want to. That's now not a thing that you can really judge the shows. And by now, I mean now that I've made a video about it, but it always has been.
I suppose if there's ever a moment where it's like, Abin Sur died, his ring went to Hal Jordan, and you're like, well, obviously that's not Kyle Rayner, and it's not the Daily Planet. Yeah. So that might be the divergence.
Yeah, I'll end up finding out, I guess. I'm watching through Teen Titans again with Jessica right now. So whenever we're through that, I hope to do one on that show, because we did do the whole video of whether it's canon, but I don't think any of the three of us that were on that video had watched Teen Titans recently or had watched the entire show or anything. I think it was just kind of like, we know it's not. Here's the big reasons why. But I've been writing down like
little things.
Let me look at my little note. Yeah, like every episode, literally anything that has even like a slight that's kind of weird with the DCAU, I write it down just to bring it up later.
Killer Moth.
I haven't gotten there yet. We're like 7 episodes deep. There's the whole Aqualad episode where like, how does that work necessarily? Like he could
be a random Atlantean,
but he does say, because he does say like, I usually work alone. I'm like, okay, so you're not Aquaman's partner? Why is your name Aqua something? You know, there's also like Dr. Light is in the show, but like, how is he connected to the Dr. Light and JLU? I'm gonna have to look that up with like their comics connection and stuff like that. So far, nothing has been like, oh, that's definitely there. It is. There's the thing that'll kick it out. It's just been kind of questionable, like things. But I'll find out. I'll probably do one on that. Anyway, let's end the show because this is stupid. I'm done talking about things.
Okay.
Oh, well, I did want to mention we have an interview coming up next episode. I can say it now because it's actually recorded. And I'm not going to... We interviewed the Dynamic Music Partners. They're the composers for most of the DCAU shows. That's Lolita Ripmanis, Michael McQuistion, and Christopher Carter. And that was pretty fun. I didn't expect to get all 3 of them. I asked Christopher Carter on his Instagram in a message, and he never responded. And then I tweeted at Lolita Ripmanis, and within like 5 minutes, she was like, "Yeah, let's do it." It tagged everybody else.
Nice.
And
nice.
so yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
that was cool. Yeah, it was me and Adam, Adam Mullen writes the music for the things that we do, the original music.
Our theme
anyway.
song with the sick beats.
Yeah, them dank songs. That sounds so white when I say it.
Only a 12th level intellect could possibly handle what you are about to experience.
Be warned, only the whitest of people can handle this podcast. So that's it. Thanks for listening, everybody. The podcast is out every other Monday on iTunes and YouTube. I haven't looked into Spotify, but Ted's supposed to do that. He forgot, though.
I'll look into it.
And there's an iTunes link in the description of the YouTube video that you're probably watching it on. A lot more people watch it on YouTube / listen on YouTube than they do on iTunes, but I would recommend iTunes just because, it's easier.
If you don't have YouTube Red, you can close your phone and keep listening to it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's great.
We're on social media at DCAU Watchtower. You can also email us at info@watchtowerdatabase.com. We're also patreon.com/DCAU Watchtower. Maddie got that wrong in the vanishing point. He said Watchtower Database.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Correct it. But, he said that I would edit it in a funny way if he messed up.
I saw. You did. It's so funny.
I sure did. It was really funny.
That's on the which video? It's the
most
Doomsday
recent vanishing point.
The Doomsday vanishing point. Yeah.
Yep. And we got videos, speaking of which, out Sunday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, in that order. Today is Monday that you're listening to this, probably, and tomorrow's Tuesday. That's how days work in a week. Trivia Tuesdays is on Tuesdays. That's Ted's little baby.
That's good to know.
So you should subscribe to the YouTube channel so that you don't miss out on all that stuff.
I will.
There's 2 videos a week.
I will do that.
Ted,
if I'm not
why are
already.
you not subscribed?
I should. I'll subscribe.
You should actually check if your new YouTube channel is subscribed to Watchtower.
I'm all subscribed.
You are the one person that's keeping us from having a lot of subscribers. We actually did pass 20,000 subscribers recently, so that's pretty cool.
That's great.
It's taken its time a little bit, but it's also going a lot faster than I would have anticipated.
Slow and steady.
To that point.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, where are we racing?
It's not a race.
Are we racing PewDiePie? Because we're losing significantly.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Oh, one more thing. On the Patreon, if you're $3 or higher, which that's not a lot of money, man. That's just $3. You could probably spend more than that every single day of your life. And that's just once a month. If you're on that tier or higher, you get to vote for what you want one of the Sunday videos of each month to be. We give you some options, and then you get to vote which of your favorites. So you have a say.
That's
the
great.
People will speak. And we already had our first voting session, so the next Sunday video is picked by the voters. So
was that your last thing, or did you have another thing?
I don't know. Did you have another thing?
I've got two things.
Okay.
Yeah.
The question, Renee Montoya. Sorry.
No, the swamp thing and the thing from Fantastic Four.
Oh my God. All right, that's the end of the episode, everybody. I'll see Ted in 2 weeks. We have to do this stupid shit again.
Yep.